All right, Shabbosai, good morning. Let's begin. Today's daf is Daf Vav. Our shir this morning is dedicated by our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Tishrei. Final day of Tishrei, Jacob and Julie Blumenfeld, in memory of their grandmothers, Zichronam Livracha. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshamas will have an aliyah and the families a nechama. But with that, let's begin. Today's daf is Vav. We are picking up on Hey Amud Beis. A lot to do today. We're actually picking up at the Meisvei. So the Meisvei is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21 lines up from the bottom. Okay, good. But it'll go quickly. So also remember again, just to orient ourselves a little bit, we were focusing yesterday on a statement by Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan said that halacha l'maisa, sofik tuma haba'a b'dei adam nish'alin aleha, afilu b'kli amunach al gabe karka. So the Gemara introduced us to the concept that sofik tuma b'davar she'ein bodas lishoel. That ultimately, again, if you have a sofik tuma, right, the situation of doubtful tuma, but in an item that doesn't have das, cannot be asked, did it touch the sherets, did it not touch the sherets? So the Gemara said before that such an item, sveikotar. Anytime you have a suffix in a davar she'in bodas lishol, sveikotar. Rabbi Yochanan introduced an earth-shattering chiddush. What was the earth-shattering chiddush? That although the item that received tumah ultimately again may be ein bodas lishol, if the item which communicates, or I should say, the entity which communicates the tumah is yesh bodas lishol. We'll say what's an example of where the item which was makabel tumah is inanimate, but the entity which communicated the tumah has das. So we'll say it's a simple case of a person who is tameh who touches an item. We're not sure, did he touch the item, did he not touch the item? The item which potentially received tumah is ein bodas lishol. It has no das, you can't ask it what happened. But yet the entity which communicated the tumah, i.e. the person, is yesh bodas lishol. So Rabbi Yochanan holds that in a case like that, we treat the entire situation as a circumstance of yesh bodas lishol. Good, that's Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush. So Meisi, the Gemara is Zekasha, Hayim esatev betalisa v'taras tumos b'tzido. Person was wrapped in his talis. And I will say what happens. And there are taras and tumos, right? Items which are tar, items which are tameh by the side of him. V'taras and tumos l'malam mirosho. Taras and tumos ultimately again above his head. Suffolk naga, Suffolk lo naga. So we'll say, so the circumstance that we're dealing with over here is machlokes actually Rashi tells us about what the case is over here. But for our purposes right now, let's assume for a moment that the talis itself is tameh. And so the shayla is, he's going ahead and putting on his talis. So the shayla is, when putting on the talis, did he go ahead and potentially touch any tameh, any tahar items? That's the fundamental shayla. So the Gemara says, what's the halacha? Tar. Ultimately, again, the halacha is that the items are tar. But if there's no way for him to put on the talis without him having touched the tameh items, then ultimately again he will be tameh. Rabbi Shmuel Silber says, Omrim lo shana v'shana. This is actually interesting. Rabbi Shmuel says, I don't understand. Why do we have to guess? Let's say to him, let's do a dramatic reenactment. Let's say Ploni, put on the talis again. And let's see what happens when you put on the talis again. Let's watch him this time. And let's see, in the range of motion of putting on the talis, did he touch the tameh items or not? Amrullah says, Rabbi Shmuel Silber, ain't shonen b'taras. So Rabbi Shmuel Silber, we don't do that. So why don't we do dramatic reenactments by tumah? For one simple reason. Maybe the first time he didn't touch the tumah, and now what's going to happen in the dramatic reenactment he's going to. So we don't do that. So we'll say, the Gemara says, Amai, but I don't understand, why do I need all of this? Has savek tumah b'bidei adamu. But I don't understand. At the end of the day, this is a situation of safek tumah haba b'dei adam. Right? So remember again, we're dealing with a person. This is yesh bodas lishol. So why don't we say ultimately again it's a safek tumah haba b'dei adam? And again, Rabbi says it's a very simple halacha. If the safek occurs in Rosh Hashanah, then sveiko tameh. If the safek occurs ultimately in Rosh Hashanah, sveiko tar. What's the confusion here? To which the Gemara says, "B'minei dahi the Tana Boshia, b'shus hayochid sveiko tameh, B'Rishus Rabim Sveko Tamar. To which the Gemara says, you're right, leave out this case. Because in fact, regarding this case, you have Rabbi Oshia saying that if this happened in Rishus HaYachid, Sveko Tameh, and Rishus Rabim Sveko Tameh. Fine, supposed to leave that case aside. Gufa, Gemara says another kasha. Amr Zikiri. Me'is la'ish shebenida, ose mishkav umoshav l'tamei adam l'tamei begadim. Supposed to remember again, we said before, Zikiri said that when speaking about the me'is la'ish shebenida, supposed to remember again, the easiest way to illustrate this is in the Shita of the Chachamim. A woman finds blood. Let's say again, halacha l'maisar, our last badika was 3 days ago. So the Chachamim said what? That we extend her Niddah status vis-a-vis what? For Taurus, for the last 24 hours. 24 hours. So the Gemara, Zeiri said that when we retroactively apply her status 24 hours, so we'll say, what does that do? She goes ahead and also conveys tumah to items which she had contact with. Through how? Mishkav u'moshav, if she was sitting on something or laying on something, l'tamei adam l'tamei begadim. Ultimately, again, to convey tumah to people, as well as to articles of clothing, garments. Si'ini, is that true? V'halki asa avimi mi beichozai. When Avimi came from Beichozai, asa va'isi mas nisa. He went and he came back with a Mishnah. Right? Mas nisa bi'adei. What was the Mishnah? What did the Mishnah say? Me'is la'ish shebenida, mishkava u'moshava kimaga. And I will say in this Mishnah that Ziri came back with, it said that during the 24-hour retroactive application period of the Niddah, so what do we say? Mishkava u'moshava kimaga'a. The status of the items that she sat on or laid down on is the same status as if she had touched them. Kimaga. They will say, now what does that mean? My love, ma maga'a lo metame adam, af mishkava lo metame adam. So we'll say, when it says maga, look at Rashi for just a moment. It's using it in a little bit of a different way. Maga, bikli shenaga bonida, sheno metame adam shayrishonu ve'eno metame adam ela avatuma. So we'll say, if a nida touches a kli, the halacha is the kli becomes a rishon, but ultimately, again, that kli cannot convey tumah to a person. So when Ziri comes back with this Mishnah, and the Mishnah says that her mishkav and moshav is like her maga, then what? B'pashtus, what that means is, just like if her maga, if she touches a kli, that kli cannot convey tumah to a person, so too if she sits or lays down on something, her sitting down or laying down on something also cannot convey tumah to a person. To which the Gemara says, Amar Rabba v'tizbara kal v'chomer. But I said it should be a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? So the Gemara said, also remember again, this statement would pose a question, a kasha, to Zeiri, because remember again, Zeiri said that the mishkav and moshav of a nida me'es leis does convey tumah to a person. To which the Gemara says, and Rava said furthermore, Rava tizra kal v'chomer umak li charas amukav tzamid psil. Both say if you have a kli charas, an earthenware vessel, and both say this earthenware vessel is closed up. Tzamid psil means the utensil itself is sealed up. So the cavity, the opening of the vessel is closed up. Hanitza ba'al hameis. So we'll see what happens if you have, it's actually very interesting, what happens if you have a kli charas, an earthenware vessel, with a sealed top, inside of a home, under the same roof in which there is a corpse. What's the halacha? A kli charas is only mitame, only becomes tumah from the inside. In other words, it contracts tumah from the inside of the kli. So if the kli is sealed up, the cavity is sealed up, halacha l'maisa, the kli cannot be mekabel tumah. So if you have a kli charas amukav tzami psil nitzal olames, yet eno nitzal b'me'es la'ish shebenida, yet I will say if a nida were to touch a kli charas, even if it's sealed, it would contract tumah. To which the Gemara says, mishkavos umoshavos she'eino nitzal ba'olames. So couches, chairs, which are they're inside the oil, inside of the same structure as a mace, halacha l'maisa they contract tumah. Then certainly what? They certainly should contract tumah ultimately again from the eis le'eis of a niddah. So we'll say it's kal v'chomer. If an earthenware vessel, when it's sealed, does not contract tumah in an ohel ameis, but yet it does contract tumah from a niddah, so certainly then what? Couches, chairs, mishkava umoshava, which if they are inside of an ohel ameis, do contract tumah, certainly they should contract tumah from a niddah, me'es leis. To which the Gemara says, V'ha avimi mi beichozai mas nisa kamar. But Avimi went along and brought ahead brought a Mishnah, Ema Mishkava Umoshava Kimaga Atzma, top of Vav. Rather, again, the way to read that Mishnah ultimately is Terena Chinami, the Mishkav and Amoshav, the items that a Niddah sits on, are the equivalent, ultimately, again, of an item with which she has direct contact. Ma Maga Atzma. Mitame Adam, Litame Begadim, just like ultimately, again, if the Niddah touches a person directly, he becomes Tameh, to the point that the clothing that he's wearing is Tameh. Af Mishkava Umoshava, Mitame Adam, Litame Begadim. So too, ultimately, what? So too, Mishkava Moshava, the items that she sits on become Tameh, to the point that if someone else comes ahead and comes in contact with them, they would convey Tumah to the individual and to his clothing. So most at this point in time, what the Gemara effectively is saying is halacha lemaisa, the both direct contact with the Niddah me'is la'is, as well as halacha lemaisa, going ahead and sitting on items or coming in contact with items that she sat on, will ultimately convey Tumah. Tanya Kava say the Rava. We'll say a brayso that supports Rava. Brayso that supports Rava. So we'll say Rava is one who brought down the Kal V'chomer. So Rava says, Haro Adam Mitame me'is la'is. If a woman sees blood, so her tummy status is retroactively backed up for 24 hours. Umahi mitama. And Abba say, when we say that her tumah status, because remember again, Abba say, we're speaking about legabe taras, right? All of this is legabe taras. None of it for taras hamishpacha. So the Gemara says, what is exactly that she conveys tumah to in the me'is le'is period? Mishkavos umoshavos. Ochlin umashkin. So what says she conveys tumah ultimately again to mishkav umoshav, anything she sits down on or lies down on. Ochlin umashkin, food and drink. Kli charas hamukaf samid psil, and it will say even an earthenware vessel that is sealed. Ve'ena mikul keles leminyana. Now both say this is fascinating. So, however, again, this is where the Gemara comes along and explicitly says that there is no intersect between the halachos of Niddah vis-a-vis Taras and the halachos of Niddah vis-a-vis, I shouldn't say no intersect. In this context, there's no intersect between the halachos of Niddah vis-a-vis Taras versus the halachos of Niddah vis-a-vis Taras HaMishpacha. Look here, Rashi, just a moment. Ve'ena mekulkeles leminyana. Dahavadai mahashta havya pesach nidusa. Uliyom hashmini l'riyasa yaschilu yud alif yom shebeni dadu. So we'll say very quickly, we're going to spend a lot of time on this, but the crash course in biblical Hilchos Niddah goes something like this. Everything you ever want to know about biblical Niddah in 30 seconds. We'll say the way it works is like this. Depending on when a woman bleeds during the month, determines whether or not it's Nidus or Zivus. In a biblical model, there is a 7-11 system, which means for 7 days, blood that she sees is dam Niddah. After those 7 days, for a period of 11 days, it's Zivus. It's Zivus. What the Gemara is saying over here is that halacha l'maisa, even though we're talking about all this stuff me'is la'is, retroactively applying her status, when it comes to Hilchos Niddah vis-a-vis what we'll call Taras HaMishpacha, what Farper will call Taras HaMishpacha, her Niddah status begins as of when? As of the time she sees blood. Retroactivity is only a din legabe tuman tara. But let's say, for example, in terms of counting her days of Niddah. So let's remember again, Midah Raisa, a woman is in Niddah for how long? 7 days. 7 days. There's no clean days. There's no. She experiences menstrual flow. She is a Niddah. 7 days she's a Niddah. Night number 8 she goes to the mikvah. That's when do those 7 days start? From the Re'iyah. There's no retroactivity there, right? So that's what it means when it says "Ena mikul keles leminyana." Very, very, very important distinction. Me'is le'is is a din in Taras. But when it comes to her actual Hilchos Niddah vis-a-vis herself, again, everything starts at the moment that she sees blood. Similarly again, ve'ena es bo'ala lemafreya. There was another interesting halacha, and this is really quite fascinating, which is, let's say, she sees blood. She sees blood on Sunday on Sunday morning, and what happens? She was with her husband the night before. So remember again, Abba say this is fascinating. So even though we're going to say there's a concept of me'is le'is, which means, for example, if she went ahead and she handled taras on Matzei Shabbos, what's going to be the status of those taras? right? They're tamei. I will say, yet fascinatingly enough, she's not metame her husband. So you hear this distinction. Because you're going to also remember again, let's go back for just a moment. What's the nature of the tumah vis-a-vis the tarus? This is rabbinic tumah. Right, this is not biblical tumah. That's why we're going to say tolin in these kind of cases. So the Gemara just says that halacha lamaisa, this kind of me'is is only a din in taris, not her husband. I both say, by the way, psychologically we understand why is this. This is what Shammai said. One of the four svaros of Shammai. Why is this? Because what's going to happen if the concept of me'is la'is would apply to taris hamishpacha? What's going to happen? Remember, what does Shammai say? You're going to be mevatel period verivya. Meaning, again, a couple is always going to be nervous to engage in any form of physical intimacy. Because what happens if within the next 24 hours she sees some kind of blood? That means that her status is backed up ultimately again for 24 hours. That means retroactively she is in Niddah. So I'll say, so that's exceptionally problematic. Good. Rabbi Kiva says, Metame es bala. Wow. Rabbi Kiva says, no. She, in other words, we'll say, if she sees dam, and she had relations with her husband, me'is la'is of the re'iyah, it is in fact metame her husband. Ve'inamona ela misha sherasa. But Rabbi Akiva does agree that in terms of the count of her 7 days for Hilchos Niddah, that when does that apply? That only applies to the time that she sees blood going forward. Hara kesem. So we'll say, what about ksam? So remember, you're going to both say, we've mentioned now ksamim a number of times. We haven't done the sugya of ksamim yet. But suffice it to say, the reason why a kesem is going to be treated, or seemingly is treated, in a more makel fashion, in a more lenient fashion, rather than a regular re'iyah, is because we assume that a kesem is occurring without the hargasha, without the sensation. Dam without the sensation may be rabbinic at most. So again, we'll see all of this. Haroah kesem metam mafreya. Let's say if a woman sees a kesem, she sees a stain, so ultimately again her tumah is also retroactive, again, vis-a-vis taras. Umahi metame. So what is she metame? Retroactively, what is she metame? Ochlin umashkin, mishkavos umoshavos, ukli cheres hamukav samid psil. So we'll say, so pretty much, according to Rabbi Akiva, a kesem is treated the same way as a re'iyah. It's the same thing. A kesem astin is no different than seeing than seeing a flow. Namely, again, it's metame me'es la'es. What is it? Metame, food and drinks. Moshkava, moshav, anything she sits on, lays down on, and even a klicheres that is sealed. Umikulkeles lemina, what Rabbi Akiva holds that halacha lemaisa, right? It does shter the counting. Mikulkeles lemina. So we'll see what that means as well. Umitame es boala, and ultimately again it also conveys tumah to her husband if she was with him within 24 hours of the stain. Ve'inamona ela misha sherasa, but ultimately again she will only go ahead and count her 7 days of niddah from the time ultimately again that she sees the stain. They're both saying in both of these cases, i.e. a re'iyah as well as a kesem, tolin lo ochlin v'lo sarfin. Remember again, this is exceptionally important. The whole concept of me'is la'is is what? Is drabanan. So because of that, when we say that we're going to be metame taras, me'is la'is, that means midrabanan. You cannot go ahead and burn taros that are tame midrabanan. So what do? Tolin. What does tolin mean? Like it sounds. You suspend it. You don't eat it. You don't burn it. Pretty much you just let it decompose. So the Gemara says, Rava, Ishmi masnisa lima masnisa. Rav, I don't understand. If you heard a Mishnah regarding this, then say it. Ve'ilosh masnisa. And if you don't come armed with a Mishnah, then what? Kal v'chomer minale. Where do you have your kal v'chomer from? Remember again, Rav's kal v'chomer is on Amud Beis about the samid psil, about the kli chares, the sealed kli chares and oil ames. To which the Gemara says, V'olam shmir masnisa. In reality, Rava did hear the Mishnah. Vima masnisa, but if he would have just had the Mishnah, Hava Amina, I would have thought, O Adam, O Bigadim, I would have thought that the Mishkav and Moshav of Niddah is Matame either Adam or Bigadim. In other words, I will say, it's not powerful enough to go ahead and be Matame both. So I would have thought it's Matame one or the other. Aval Adam U Bigadim, lo. Rabbi say, but for ultimately again the Mishkav and Moshav of Niddah to be Matame both Adam and Bigadim, I would have thought ultimately again you cannot, Mishum hachi ka'amar kavachomer. Ultimately, again, that's why he went ahead and he brought down the kavachomer. So also, just in the Mishnah itself, you would not have arrived at the conclusion that a niddah is metame both Adam and Begadim. Therefore, the kavachomer comes along to say, no, she is metame both Adam and Begadim. Rav Huna. Me'es la'isha b'niddah. So, that's another very interesting discussion. Rav Huna says, the me'es la'isha of niddah, l'kodesh avalo l'truma, conveys tuma to kodesh. So when we say kodesh, kodesh is like sacrificial items. V'lo l'truma, but not to truma. Not to truma. So remember again, you know how tuma works, right? The more kodesh, the holier, quote unquote, the holier something is, then what? The more sensitive it is to tuma. So what Rav Huna is suggesting is as follows. When we speak about the idea that halacha l'maisa, so me'is le'is she's metame taras, what type of taras are we referring to? Kodesh and not truma. Kodesh, which is very sensitive, ultimately again contracts tuma from a niddah me'is le'is. Truma, which is not as sensitive, does not contract tuma from a niddah me'is le'is. Ihachi, if that's the case, listen gabi malus. So if that's the case, then halacha l'maisa in Meseches Chagiga, there is a list of milas. There is a list of qualities that kodesh has over truma, that make kodesh more chamer than truma. If it's true that kodesh contracts tuma from a niddah me'is le'is and truma does not, then what? That detail should be listed where? In the list of items that make kodesh more chamer than truma. To which the Gemara says, Ki katani heicha de isle drar de tuma, aval heicha de lesle drar de tuma lo katani. To which the Gemara says, halacha l'maisa. If you look at that Rashi, Gabi Malus, me'es leis like a drar de tuma, dahashtahu de chazoi ele gzeira ba'amu. So we'll say, ultimately, again, says the Gemara, we only go ahead and list the milas where there is a real loss as a result of the item becoming tameh. In this case, there's no real loss. Therefore, it's not listed in the milas of kodesh over truma. Meisvei. So we'll say, now we're going to analyze this statement. So we'll say, so bear in mind, Rav Huna's statement holding that when we say that me'es le'es of niddah is metame taras, Rav Huna's qualifying that statement in a very dramatic way, saying it only applies to kachim, not to truma. So meisvei, let's analyze. Mahi metame. What is it that she conveys to me'es le'es? Ochlinu mashkin, food and drink. Now we'll say, and remember, that is an unqualified statement. My love being the kodesh, being the truma. So we'll say, does that not refer to both food and drink of kodesh and truma? Lo, the kodesh. No, it only refers to kodesh. Okay, that was easy. Tashma, Rabbi Huda says, Af b'shas avrasan midle'echal b'truma. So we'll say, this is really fascinating. So again, the Rabbi Huda saying over here is as follows: that halacha l'maisa, when a woman would be eating truma, so she's the wife of a Kohen, the daughter of a Kohen, and what would happen when she would go ahead and finish? So a woman would do a bedika prior to eating truma, and apparently again she would also do a bedika when she finished eating truma. Now look at Rashi just a moment. Habishas evrasan masnisin hi av bisha she mistalkos umistaimos lechol truma tzichos livdo. So this is fascinating. Even when she would finish eating truma, she would do a bedika. V'havinaba, and we asked, I don't understand, Maida hava hava. Why does she have to do a bedika after she finished eating? You know, she did the bedika before she ate. What's done is done. To which one is amazing. Amrav Chista lo nitzracha ela letakin shiraim shebefaneha. We'll say what it does do is it allows her to eat leftovers. What does that mean? Look at Rashi. Just moment. Taki shiraim shebefaneha she naga bahem umahanyu lahach bedika shem timtza achshav tor lekashet tivdok arvis kimishpata v'timtza tmea lo tetami lemafreya ela ad shas bedikasa v'lo te'at shuma bichlal tuma demafreya shay bad kala achar avarasa amo tumas mafreya letruma gnami goes. You're supposed to listen to this. So what do? After she finishes eating, we tell her to do a bedika. Why? So we'll say, watch this. If there are leftovers, then her bedika assures that what? That the leftovers are okay. Because think about this just a moment. Let's say about say she does a bedika, eats truma, doesn't do a bedika after eating. There's leftovers. Then what happens? She goes ahead and 2 hours later she does another bedika. right? So and it turns out there's blood on the bedika. So remember again, when does her retroactive status go back to? The last bedika, which means what's the status of the leftovers? Puzzle, right? Or tame, right? Invalid, can't be used. This way, by doing the bedika after she eats, it ensures that the leftovers ultimately again will remain tahar. Now, we'll say, but what does this show for our purposes? What this shows is that halacha l'maisa, the me'is la'is status does what? Does apply to truma, not just to kachim, and this is a contradiction to Rav Huna. Rav Huna masni lisrov shirayim shebiadeh. So Rav Huna will understand ultimately again that the Mishnah is referring to over here to go ahead and burn the shirayim that is left over. Shebad ka'atzma kashir veses. Ultimately, again, the case is where she checked herself immediately. Look at Rashi just a moment. So Rav Huna is going to introduce a new concept which we'll spend time on, which is where the bedika is immediate. Where the bedika is immediate, that creates a whole different type of situation. Fine. Tashma. I'm sorry. Rabbi Kribelazar. We'll say there was a story, and one time Rebbe conducted himself like Rabbi Eliezer. Now remember again, I'm going to say, what's the case over here? Look at Rashi. Third line from the bottom. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Isha Yalda. Sha'avra aleh shalosh onos shloshim yom shalo ra'asa. Va'amar Rabbi Eliezer b'masnisin kol isha sha'avra aleh shalosh onos daya shaita. So we'll say, there is another opinion still with daya shaita, which is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer holds that any woman, essentially, who has gone for 3 months without a period, 3 months without being a niddah, right? So the halacha is, if she sees blood, it's daya shaita. What's the logic of that? 3 months without becoming a niddah is a chazaka, according to Rabbi Eliezer, that she is misulekes damim, that she doesn't bleed. So because of that, that's her chazaka. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer will hold that halacha l'maisa, when she does bleed, her status is one of daya shaita. Her status is one of daya shaita. To which the Gemara says, so apparently it happened that one time Rebbe had a case like this, and he paskined like Rabbi Eliezer. So what happened? La'achar sheniskar, after he realized that in fact the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Eliezer, he said, Amar kidayu Rabbi Eliezer, lismo chalav b'shas hadchak. Because interesting. He said, okay, no, I shouldn't have paskin that way, but he's still Rabbi Eliezer, right? And I said, don't try this at home. I don't mean like with Hilchos Niddah. I mean with halacha in general, right? There's always a rabbi who says something, right? So Kedaihu ploni l'smoch ala b'shas adchak. Rabbi said, okay, ex post facto already paskined. So interestingly enough, what's the shas adchak here? So this is amazing. Look at the first Rashi on with base. Shani b'tzuras hayu. Both say it was a time of famine. V'lo ratza lahaf sitaras. So this is incredible. So we'll say they were dealing with a me'es la'es case, right? They had a woman who had not bled in 3 months. She bled. Rebbe paskin daya shaita. Which means, let's say she bled on Sunday morning. She was handling taras on Matzei Shabbos. Rebbe paskin, the taras are okay. Afterwards, he realized, you know what, that's not really the halacha. The halacha really is that ultimately, again, we apply her status me'es la'es. But you could rely on Rabbi Eliezer b'shas adchak. What was the shas adchak? It was a famine. Had he gone ahead and paskined that the taras were tameh, we wouldn't have burned them, but we also couldn't have eaten them, which would have deprived at least the kohanim of food. So b'shas adchak, it's okay. V'havina ba. And also we asked about this. Mai la'achar sheniskar. What exactly does it mean after he remembered? After he remembered what? So I'll say, if you want to say that he remembered that the halacha does not follow Rabbi Eliezer, rather it follows the Rabbanon, I don't understand. We'll say, again, if halacha l'maisa, the halacha follows Hillel, and you have extenuating circumstances, you can't pass him like Shammai. Right? They both say the halacha is the halacha. While it is true that there are allowances in halacha for extenuating circumstances, I will say it's very important. In general, again, just because you see a shas adchak, that doesn't give you the license to go out and paskin like someone who we don't paskin like. So, Rebbe, I understand it's a famine, but if the halacha doesn't follow Rabbi Eliezer, follows Rabbanan, you don't have a right to paskin like Rabbi Eliezer. Elo, rather, you're going to say this apparently was a situation in the time times of Rebbe, where what? Where halacha l'maisa, they didn't decisively paskin like Rabbi Eliezer or the Rabbanan. It was apparently common practice to paskin like the Rabbanan, but because there was not a formal declaration, a formal psak, b'shas adchak it was okay. V'cheven sheniskar the lav yochid paligale ela rabim ela rabim pligiale. And then what happens? He passes Rabbi Eliezer. Then he realizes, this is a case of a yochid against the rabbim. It's Rabbi Eliezer against the Rabbanan. Anytime in general you have a machlokus in a yochid and a rabbim, where does the halacha follow? The halacha follows the rabbim. Halacha follows the rabbim. So therefore, again, it's Ela Rabbim Pligale. Amar, Rabbi said, Kedayu Rabbi Eliezer lismoch ala b'shas hadchak. Fine. So we'll say, so that's what it is. The halacha wasn't really decisively codified. And even though, again, logic would dictate the machlokes between Yachid and Rabbim go like the Rabbim, ex post facto, b'shas hadchak, we could ultimately paskin like Rabbi Eliezer. Now, watch this. Why is this important for us? So remember again, we're still in the same topic over here. We have Rav Huna's statement of saying that halacha l'maisa, the concept of me'is la'is, only applies to kachim and not to truma. Now says the Gemara, let's analyze this. If you want to say that the concept of me'is la'is applies to truma, not like Rav Huna said, Bishlam, I'm sorry. Remember again, Rebbe lives after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. So remember again, if you want to say that Me'is La'is applies to Truma, then this case makes sense. Because ultimately, again, there's Truma even in the absence of the Beis HaMikdash. But if you want to say that Me'is La'is only applies to Kodesh, then what? Bimei Rebbe, Mihavi. Both said there was no Kodesh in the days of Rebbe, right? There were no Korbanos in the days of Rebbe. So what's going on over here? So remember again, Rebbe is paskening on a Me'es La'is case. So if halacha l'maisa, you say that Me'es La'is applies to Truma, I understand why Rebbe's weighing in on this. But if you're going to tell me it only applies to Kudshim, there is no Kudshim at the time of Rebbe. To which the Gemara says, this is really quite fascinating. Kidu Ula, Damar Ula, both say this is incredible. Ula says, Chavrei Mitchan Begalila. Apparently, Rabbi say there were chaverim, there were Talmidei Chachamim, pious Jews in the Galil who would still prepare their wine and their oil to be fit for nisachim. But say to be fit for libations. Look at this Rashi. It's the last wide line on top. Chavrei mitchan begalila, chaverim shebegalil. We also remember again chaverim in this case like a chaver. It's the Talmid Chacham. So they're chaverim in the Galil. Mitarim yenom lenisachim. They would prepare their oil and their wine in a state of ritual purity, so that what? So that halacha l'maisa, they would be fit for menachos. Listen to how beautiful this is. Shema yibane beis hamikdash biyamehem. Both say, can you imagine this? Can you imagine people who again were preparing their oil and their wine in a state of kadshim tara, so that when the Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt, they will be ready to go ahead and offer it. It's absolutely incredible. It's incredible, and it's incredible. It's an incredible level of emunah, right? To go ahead, all of us believe, but to translate that belief into day-to-day behavior is something so dramatically amazing. To which the Gemara says, so Rabbi said, therefore, even during the days of Rebbe, there was, so to speak, kudshim. This is really quite fascinating. Even during the days of Rebbe, there were kudshim. Not that anything was being offered, but that halacha l'maisa things were being prepared in the same status as kudshim. Incredible. Hachanami b'mei Rebbe. So apparently it's happened during the days of Rebbe as well. Therefore, I will say this episode is not a raya against Rav Huna. Next, I will say a fascinating case. Tashma. Ma'aseh b'shivchas Rabbi Gamliel. There was an episode with the maidservant of Rabbi Gamliel. Shaisa ofek kikara shel truma. She was baking loaves of truma. Uben kol achas va'achas madicha yad alayim. In between the preparation of each loaf, she washed her hands. Ubodekes, and she would do a bedika. But because she's preparing truma, ultimately again she does a bedika before the preparation of each loaf. Ba'achrona, I will say after the last bedika, batka umatza tmeya. So we'll say after she prepares the last loaf, she does a bedika after the last loaf and finds blood. She asked Rabbi Gamliel, what's the status of the loaves? V'amarla kulam tmeos. Wow. Rabbi Gamliel said all the loaves are tameh. She said, Rebbe, Amrullah Rebbe, Valo bedika haisali ben kol achas achas. I will say he misunderstood the question. He thought that she did one bedika before the first one and one bedika after the last one. If indeed you find that last bedika, if she finds something on that last bedika, everything she said already. I did a bedika in between each loaf. He said She says Amrullah imkain hi tamea v'kulan toros. So if that's the case, then the last loaf is tameh, but everything else is tar. Then I will say now again. What do you see from here? What are we talking about over here? This is a case of Truma. Rav Huna, you said that Me'es La'es doesn't apply to Truma, it only applies to Kadshim. Here you clearly see that it applies to Truma as well, to which the Gemara says, my Truma, what's Truma? So, I'm sorry, Katani Mihas, Kikara Shal Truma. Both see we're talking about Kikara Shal Truma. My Truma. Both say, what does it mean when it says Truma over here? Trumas Lachme Toda. Rabbi says is actually very interesting. It refers to the truma of lachmei toda. Remember again, a person brings a toda offering. You bring 40 loaves as part of that toda. 40 loaves, 10 loaves in categories of 4. In other words, 4 different types of categories of loaves, 10 each. From each of those categories, you give the Kohen truma. You give the Kohen truma. To which the Gemara says, so I will say, in fact, this is what's called Trumas Lachmei Toda. Then I will say, now ultimately, again, Trumas Lachmei Toda, look at Rashi, Trumas Lachmei Toda, Arba Chalos Midalin Minin Shabatoda, Nosan LaKohen. So I will say, ultimately, again, essentially, one loaf of every category you give to the Kohen. So I will say, so therefore, again, even though we're calling this Truma, in fact, what is this? What is this? This is Kadshim. Right, this is kachim, because remember again, the loaves are part of the carbon toda. So in fact, this is not just the case, we're calling it truma because it's a portion given to the Kohen, but in fact, it's kachim. To which the Gemara says, Truma slachmei toda ba'afia mai bai. So I'll say, I don't understand, why is it exactly, look at Rashi, Trumas Lachmei Toda. So Rashi says over here, Ba'afia mai bai, ha mem chalos bai le'lemeifa v'hader frushei dal shuba. So we'll say, the way it works with the carbon toda is first you bake off all 40 loaves, and then after you have all 40 loaves completed, ultimately, then you give some to the Kohen. What's happening over here, that it seems to be that she's preparing the 4 loaves of the Kohen independently. So my Truma, so the Gemara says, my Truma Lachmei Toda. Truma Lachmei Toda Ba'afia mai bai. Why is it sounds like she's baking off the loaves of Trumas Lachmei Toda independently, because we'll say, in fact, the case over here is where halacha lamaisa, she separated out the Trumas Lachmei Toda while she was kneading the dough. So whereas the classic case is you prepare 40 loaves, after the 40 loaves are prepared, you take 1 loaf from each category, 4 loaves, give that to the Kohen. In this case over here, she's separating out the Kohen's portion from the kneading bowl. Already again, for when she's kneading the dough. V'chihadam Rav Tuvi bar Rav Katina, lachmei toda sha'afan dalet chalos yatzar. I will say, and again, on this same topic, Rav Tuvi said it's actually very interesting. If you baked, I will say, listen to this, you're supposed to have 10 loaves of 4 different categories, right? 4 different types of loaves. So 10 loaves of, so we'll say, what happens if instead of making 10 loaves of 4 different types, or 4 different types of 10 loaves each, you go ahead and you make 4 big loaves. 4 big loaves, right? So essentially it's 10 loaves in one. So you have 4 big loaves instead of 40 smaller loaves. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Yatsa, it works. V'havinamba. But we ask about that. V'haba inan arboim. But one second, Torah, you need 40 loaves. The mitzvah. But we'll say that's the chatchila. I v'haba inan afrushe truma minayu. But ultimately, again, you're supposed to go ahead and separate out truma for the coin from each type of loaf. So the which the Gemara says, maybe you'll say that Allah Chamaisa, fine, just rip off a little piece of each loaf and give that to the Kohen. No. Echad Amar Rachmana. Ultimately, again, the Torah says Echad. I will say, what does Echad mean? Shelo Yital Prusa. You have to give the Kohen a whole loaf and not a piece of a loaf. V'aminan Dafrishino Bilishayu. And what we're dealing with over here, where ultimately, again, you can separate when it's being needed. Hachanami dafreshino bilishayu. So to Rabbi say, what was the case? The case is where halacha lamaisa, you were separating it out ultimately again in the lisha. Good, in the lisha. To which the look at Rashi, dafreshino bilishayu. Natal echad meiser l'truma. V'teishan usaran l'bayla mikol min v'min afa bechala achas. So we'll say, so again, this would seem to be an indication that what? That halacha l'maisa, that in fact the concept of me'es la'es doesn't only apply to truma, but also applies to kudshim. One more story, then we'll stop. Tashma, shuv ma'isa b'shivcha Rabbi Gamliel. Both another story, Rabbi Gamliel shivcha. Shahaisa gapa chavio shal yayin. So what was she doing? She was sealing barrels of wine. Stealing barrels of wine. So both say, so again, same thing over here. What is she doing? In between the sealing of each barrel, she washes her hands and she does a badika. Because remember, she's handling wine, so to make sure that the wine remains ritually pure, she makes sure that she's not a niddah in between each barrel. Right? After the last barrel, she does a badika and she finds that she is tameya. Ubasa v'shal Rabbi Gamliel. So it's the same story. Rabbi Gamliel, Rebbe, what's my status? V'amrullah kulan tameos. Rabbi Gamliel tells her all the barrels are tamei. She says what? Amrullah v'alo badika haisali bein kalachas v'achos. She said, Rebbe, I did a badika in between each barrel. Amrullah imkain hi tameya the kulan taras. And that's the case. Rebbe said, you're right. Then the last barrel is problematic. All the other ones are okay. To which Rabbi say the Gemara says, I amrit b'shlama chada de kodesh v'chada shom. So Rabbi says, now watch this. Now I have two cases. One was dealing with what we call the loaves of Toda, and one was dealing with wine. So both say it's the same case. Right? Same case. It's just one is wine, one is. So I'll say, so why does the Gemara have to write two cases? So if you want to tell me that one case is talking about Truma and one case is talking about Kodesh, then Hainu Dahadra v'Shaila. Then I understand that we'll say why the shifcha has to come back and ask again. So both say, so remember again, the shifcha asks Rabbi about the loaves. Then she asks him the same case in the wine. What the Gemara is bothered by is, why are you asking the same shaila again? Shifcha, he already told you about the first case. You know the halacha. So both say, so if you want to say that maybe the first case is kudshim and the second case is truma, then I understand why she has to ask twice. But if you want to say that both of them are talking about Kodesh, then why does she have to ask twice? To which the Gemara says so simply, to which the Gemara says, sometimes don't make things too complicated. Why are you assuming ultimately again that it is the same woman? Right? At the end of the day, by the way, just an interesting diak, I'll show you something fascinating. If you look in the first case, when the shifcha speaks to Rabbi Gamliel, ultimately, again, the lashon she uses is Amra lo Rebbe, v'halo bedika haisali bein kol achas v'achas. If you notice, ultimately, again, in the second case, it says Amra lo v'halo bedika haisali bein kol achas v'achas. Just an interesting diak. So the Gemara says again, in the first case she calls him Rebbe, second case she doesn't. It could mean nothing, or it could ultimately mean, says the Gemara, is that it's two different shachas. So therefore, if it's two different shifchas, if it's two different maidservants, that's why the question has to be asked. So also we have to stop over here for today. I suggest I'm leaving a little bit on a cliffhanger. So remember again, we have Rav Huna's statement ultimately telling us that the me'es la'es of Niddah is something that only applies to kudshim, does not apply to truma. Only applies to kudshim because of the sensitive nature of kudshim, not to truma. We now are trying to bring a series of cases to show that that's not true. It turns out that these last cases that we brought does not disprove Rav Huna, but Emir Hashem tomorrow we'll see a lishna achrina that paints Rav Huna a bit differently. Shkoyach.